everyone, and welcome back to the Life Lab podcast. Here we are in March. It's Josh Baldwin here. I'm joined with Josh Parkinson.
How we doing?
And Ben Mason Foster.
Hello.
Yes, we are here again. The Life Lab is open, and this month we're talking about conspiracy theories. Josh, do the X-Files theme. Nice, perfect. It's like you actually played the track. Anyway, we are back. We're doing conspiracy theories today. Josh set me and Ben off on researching one particular conspiracy theory, which was, and we're still trying to work out how to say it, the Dyatlov Pass incident.
I think that's right.
Dyatlov Pass incident. He thinks that's right. That's good.
I think that's right.
So we went off and we've all had a little research into that, and we're going to come to that a bit later on in the podcast. But we're going to start with a few small conspiracy theories that we have been researching. Ben has got a massive document. Ben has really got busy on this. He's got a massive document. So I think Benny, are you able to start us off with a conspiracy theory today?
I can. Would you like Bermuda Triangle or a UFO?
We're feeling Josh. I feel like Bermuda.
What are you feeling?
I like a bit of Bermuda.
Let's start Bermuda. Yeah, let's start with Bermuda.
Okay. So the stories around the Bermuda Triangle began in the time of Christopher Columbus, when he reportedly saw a flame of fire crashing into the sea in the Triangle during his first voyage to the New World, which I think the New World was like America.
Yes, I believe
so. But however, the mysterious behaviour of the Bermuda Triangle region came into the public attention only in the 20th century, when the Navy cargo ship USS Cyclops had 300 people on board and then went missing. And the latest incident in the region is the disappearance of a small twin-engine plane in May 2020.
Oh, see, I believe that the Cyclops one was, I think I read it was the biggest US catastrophe, or like at least disappearances where they don't believe it, or they have no idea where they went ever. It's like they're literally just 300 people on a boat, just gone.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Just vanished.
Just 300 people. Like, I don't think they did. There was no distress beacon. They had no idea. It just went and it was gone. No one reported anything.
Well,
aliens.
you can assume that it sunk, can't you? But I mean, you just don't know.
But there's no trace. Yeah, you think there would have been the body of someone floating up. It's not like someone turned
over
up.
time you would expect things just surface if it's sunk.
That means if
I guess if you go to look for it, you just get stuck in the Bermuda Triangle yourself, don't you? So
then it's just an end of cycle. Yeah.
Maybe
if someone finds it, it'll be like just a boat of skeletons just underwater, like 300 fucking skeletons.
Whoa.
And then next thing you know, you're part of fucking Captain Barbossa's crew fighting Captain Jack Sparrow.
Just a modern day.
Modern day.
Well, I ended up looking into a lot of what I'm quite interested in is this whole thing of we've only explored 5% of the ocean, and so there's this whole level of the ocean where I went to the deep in Hull once and learnt about this, where essentially you get to the deep dark. I think it's called the deep part of the ocean, and that is about as far as we've explored. And then any deeper than that, what we can only assume is there are like monster sea creatures. I feel like there's got to be some monster sea creatures.
Like transparent fish and stuff. They don't have a backbone because they don't need it or something like that.
There's really weird, just freaky fish.
Yeah.
Like the one that has the light on its its face. Yeah. Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah, they're creepy. Yeah. Well, that's also where this idea of there's one theory about the Loch Ness monster and how maybe there could be some sort of these monsters that are possibly still from prehistoric times that are roaming and survive down there, and maybe that feeds into the Bermuda Triangle thing. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. But the Kraken, yeah. But at the same time, that wouldn't affect aeroplanes. But isn't that there's something to do with the magnetic field around the Bermuda Triangle that like throws compasses?
When you go off, like the compasses flip out and go all over the place because I don't know what I think it's maybe like I'm probably talking shit, but it's like a crossing point of the magnetic poles. I'm probably making that shit up, but that sounds. It could be something along those lines where the field, if it can't figure out which ways, because if it can't figure out which ways north or in general what it keeps tilting, I imagine maybe it's something to do. Probably should have fucking looked that up. I didn't.
I mean, what you said sounds plausible to me. Like I feel like that could be a. Isn't it always meant to be like? It's not like. Isn't it just always like stormy and stuff? Like it's rare that it's a calm sea. It's always a bit rough, or it's prone to lots. But I suppose it's like, is it the Atlantic? So it's along the coast. You always get cyclones, hurricanes, or whatever. Anyway, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it the Atlantic?
I think you're right. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things was I was listening to, funny enough, like another podcast, and they were talking about. I think the ships going missing that on the seas and that, and they were saying how one of the theories is that there's these big pockets of methane gas that lines around under the seabed. Because this is like adding like scientific logic to conspiracy theories, which we should be avoiding, but it's hard to move away from facts to a point. It's like, but we're going to believe in the aliens in this podcast. It's all aliens. There's no scientific reasoning behind this.
Fact.
But anyway, these nutters who believe in science, there's these methane pockets on the bottom of the sea floor. Apparently, that when they can erupt or like release when they build up over a certain amount of time, and they'll go up to the surface and cause like, I think. Well, from what they said, it creates kind of like a suction, which is what pulls ships down. Why a lot of ships they just
like
kind of seemingly disappear. I don't know if it's like a whirlpool. It's more of like just they just get pulled. I have no idea how true, because I just listened to it. I didn't look it up after. It's just that's what they said, and I was like, I mean that sounds believable. I don't know why methane gas would do that.
It's something put forward to consider. I mean, there is a case here. Apparently, in 1945. 5 US Navy planes, which had about 14 men on them, disappeared during routine training exercises. And the flight's leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, was heard over the radio saying, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, no white." And then it just cut off.
That's pretty fucking scary.
So apparently the US Navy investigated and ultimately reported the incident as cause unknown. From time of this incident until the mid-1980s, 25 small planes have also disappeared whilst passing through the Bermuda Triangle, and they have never been seen again. No wreckage was ever recovered.
That's pretty crazy. Like,
wow.
Just it's one of those things where it's like you go to think of like what the fuck did these people? What were the last things these people see? And that's like the fact that these people, wherever they were going, wherever they like. They started their day, and then the last thing that anyone knew of them, they got on this fucking plane, and they were never seen from again. Like, it makes you think. As like, I'm a pretty skeptical in terms of like alien species have been like monitoring or like watching overhead, and now and again people capture glimpses. Because one of the things that is one of those things is how come if the aliens are here, why can no one get an actual normal video? Because you get these videos and they're like, it's always someone going, "What the hell is that?" And then they're shaking it violently. And it's like they've got Parkinson's disease. And it's like, can't you just hold the camera? And it's always about fucking 140p. So you could just make out this fucking fuzzy black dot moving on the screen. And that is it.
I don't know about you, but recently I've not been aware of many sightings. Like, you always hear of sightings back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then as soon as technology's advanced and camera quality and that has improved, I've I've never been aware of any sightings that have gone viral or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing is, because science is obviously advanced, there's like so much more, inverted commas, explanation behind stuff. And so, like, I feel like, you know, if these conspiracy theories are real, then like there's a lot more like that these higher agencies can do, government agencies, to like cover them up, because they know a lot more now. I mean, it's amazing how much technology has advanced in the last sort of few days.
So what are you fucking not telling us, Josh? You alien. Something on the back of his neck.
Years. What year is it again? What did I land in? Josh, give us a conspiracy theory. What have you found, Josh?
I've got one. It's kind of almost a bit similar along the lines.
That's what I was asking, Josh.
It's good. But this one's called Witchcraft. Now, I believe I think it's the name of the cruiser, this cabin cruiser. This is in 1967. It left from Miami, captained by this guy and his friend, where they went on a journey. It was a 23-foot luxury yacht. And they went to it was around Christmas time, and they wanted to go off and I'm guessing maybe something in Miami. They do these Christmas lights. Maybe it's like a special occasion they do in Miami. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure it's beautiful. Anyway, they got about a mile off the shore of Miami. So I believe this is around the area because I think Miami is part of the triangle of Bermuda. Like, it comes within that. And they got about a mile offshore, where the Coast Guard received a call from the captain stating that the ship had hit something with no damage to the ship, and indicating that they needed to be towed to shore. So they'd hit something, but there was no substantial damage. So they were saying, like, we've been hit, we can't move, but it's not immediate danger. So, but we need someone to come out. So the Coast Guard set off immediately to the ship, and then they got there in 90 minutes. And when they got there, there was no one there, nothing there. The exact position where they'd said they were. 90 minutes later, they get there, no one's there.
As in no one or no ship. Was the ship still there? But
it'd gone. There was no ship, no one. There was nobody there. And then the area indicating on the location was completely deserted. There was no signs of any ship having been stranded or present there previously. So there was no indication of that there was, like, you know, when a boat drives away and you get the kind of where the engine ripples the water up and and turns it up. There was nothing like that. I don't know if that after 90 minutes it would kind of be untraceable. I don't know. Apparently the most he goes on to say the most intriguing thing about the story that it was a cruise that was virtually unsinkable. Apparently. There was numerous amounts of life-saving devices
We've heard that
present.
one before, haven't we?
Yeah, we fucking have. That's how that turned out. And on board was life-saving devices present, including life jackets, lifeboats, flares, distress signals, devices, etc. None of them were used, and the ship was gone. The Ghost Guard. Ooh, scary. Ooh. The officials, apparently, they searched hundreds of square miles of ocean over the next few days, but were unsuccessful. None of the ship has been found. The ship is gone, and there's only speculation of what happened to them. So literally 19 minutes later, the ship was just gone. There was nothing, and they searched literally miles. There was loads of live stuff and shit like that could have saved them if anything had happened. But they were just literally, they were gone.
It's not like, going back to the whole magnetic thing, it's not like because of that crossover between the North Pole and the South Pole or whatever, equipment or radar or anything messes it up. So they think they're in a particular place, but they're not. So they're following something, but it's not actually leading them to the right place because it doesn't quite know
Possibly.
Where it is itself.
But if they most likely, with the Coast Guard, they would have charted a course and they would know coordinates based on maps. Yeah. So they won't be relying on a compass anyway, because they would. I mean, I'd assume the Coast Guard know what parts of the ocean when they get a distress signal, because how would anyone find anyone in the Bermuda Triangle?
True.
And I mean, I guess that is a problem.
Is the Bermuda Triangle Florida to Bermuda to Miami? Is that what we're saying? Is that?
I think it's.
Have I just made that up?
It's Bermuda, like Miami, like Florida area, and then I think it's Costa Rica or something like that.
Yeah, because it's called the Triangle because it's these three different places that when you connect them up, it's like a triangle. And
it's a triangle. It's literally it's that part of the ocean. Yeah. Well, one of the
so it's Florida, like Bermuda, and Puerto Rico are the places.
There you go. Yeah. Well, one of the theories is that what could have happened to them is that they say that the Bermuda is a gateway to a parallel universe or a wormhole, which is why that maybe they just disappear. Is that they get pulled in to this parallel world and end up on the other side of this kind of parallel, maybe Earth. So maybe all these people that have gone missing, they're just turned up in a different parallel world to us. Mm. So they're alive and well.
To be fair,
time would be the same. So would they? So could, for example, after all the years of all these people disappearing there, or disappearing to this parallel world, do you think time is still a concept? So it's a year there is the same here, or do you think someone from World War II is going through, and then Jane from whoever was flying this plane last year has gone through, and they've still met? Or would you?
Are you saying like all these people that disappear at different times, are they appearing at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh. I wouldn't say so. I would say time would still be relative. I'm just fucking throw that word out there to sound intelligent. Yeah. I would say that time is still flowing the same amount. It's just that I believe that there are some in terms of parallel universes and worlds and that. I believe that there are that kind of. That's how stuff works. I believe that like the different choices you make and maybe certain aspects there is that every world or version of you in different times of all the choices that you make throughout your life everything that's possible in your life is an outcome for some different version of you. So like no matter what you think of, there's a version of you that's probably done it.
Yeah, I think it would be crazy to think that like we were the only people around. I mean, there's like, we're just, for example, like in space, we're just one Milky Way. There are like black holes that supposedly go to places. And so there is, there's wholly the possibility that like maybe the Bermuda Triangle, there is something that goes to places. I mean, there's loads of creepy like old texts about various
Bermuda.
things. So about Bermuda. So yeah,
like, where did
I
the
think it would be
hieroglyphics
crazy
come
to
from?
think that we're not the only people in the universe.
Ben, would you want to talk about the Mary Celeste that we had on? Me and Ben managed to pick the same thing because I found the little fact that I found the only reason I knew of the Mary Celeste, and I had a bit of like there's a really cool kind of mystery of a ship. I watched it on. I had a video of Count Duckula. I don't know if anyone who's listened to this remembers Count Duckula, but it was a great kid show. So yeah, anyway, Ben, you kick us off. What we're going to do is we're going to do Ben's going to tell a little bit of info about the Mary Celeste, and I've got a few of the little theories of what possibly happened to it, and then maybe hopefully we can bounce some stuff of maybe our own theories of what happened.
So I've got here that. Well, I found out that the Mary Celeste was discovered on the 4th of December, 1872, with everything right in place except for the entire crew. The ship was found stranded on the sea days after it started its journey from New York to... Oh, I'm going to be really bad on these place names.
Go on, Ben.
New York to Genoa, Italy.
Nice.
There were 7 crew members along with Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife and their 2-year-old daughter aboard the vessel, which was loaded with raw alcohol. Days after, when a passing British ship called Del Gratia found the Mary Celeste under partial sail in the Atlantic off the Azores Island, the ship was unmanned with no crew aboard and the lifeboat was also missing. So this British ship just came across this boat but the boat wasn't in the Bermuda Triangle at that point. It was somewhere else in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
So it was like adrift. So it was going through the Bermuda Triangle, and then what they're guessing is something happened.
Yeah.
And then, but the ship kept going, and then was out the Bermuda Triangle. It was also found that 9 of the barrels in the cargo were empty, and there was a sword on the deck. No trace of people aboard the vessel or the missing lifeboat was ever found. So there was basically everything on the ship was still intact. Everything was still there. Cargo, alcohol, whatever, apart from those few bits that I just said. But all I'm envisaging is a full ship with sails still going. It's still moving. There's no one on it, but there's still tankards, candles, whatever. It doesn't look like anything's wrong other than
nothing suspicious.
Of people.
You would have been known.
So this ship had gone through the Bermuda Triangle and come out the other side.
Is believed, yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's gone in. It's believed to have gone in with people, come out the other side without people, but everything on the ship is like there's people there, but not.
Minus the lifeboat.
The lifeboat was missing, so it's presumed that someone managed to get away, but then it's the thing of nobody ever turned up or said anything about it. It could potentially, maybe it was just foul play, and they didn't want anything to be brought to them. It could have been anything like that.
Could have been a mutiny.
I don't know if Ben said, but it was the ship. The ship was discovered. It was a month. Did you say a month? It was discovered a month later. The ship off the coast of Portugal is when it was found.
Yeah.
So it was a month after from New York. So it was adrift for probably a few weeks, or at least a couple of weeks, I imagine, before anything happens. But that's the thing as well. Anything that was there maybe at the time of actual whatever had happened, anything that could have been there as a result might have been washed off. Like maybe if it's been floating for a couple of weeks, maybe a body or anything that was like hovering around the ship at the time of what had happened. It's just by that point it's just fucked off in the ocean. You're gonna have no idea, especially in the 1800s when I imagine charting and stuff like that wouldn't have been as advanced today. You're not gonna be able to pinpoint certain objects in the ocean at that point, especially if it take months and weeks.
You'd think that if a lifeboat was gone, then that implies that they tried to get off, and possibly they tried to get off in the Bermuda Triangle, which, I mean, they wouldn't have known that around the 1800s or 1870s or whenever. Yeah, 1870s, but they probably wouldn't have known that was quite a dangerous thing. So, yeah, maybe they tried to get off through the lifeboat. But then you think, well, they must have seen something in the Bermuda Triangle to get off.
Yeah.
And it's got to be something also. Like, it can't be like I just think with that, it can't be like a giant creature, because you'd be like, no, I'm staying on I'd rather not get on a tiny lifeboat to get away from this massive octopus. So I cannot think of what. So they needed to get away quickly from something.
Something like that. Yeah, they wanted to get away. Something had happened. And one of the things I remember from the actual episode of Count Duckula, when one of the cartoon characters was explaining it, he said one of the things that when they arrived was that there was a table with all the plates laid out and everything with dishes of I think it was uneaten food, or the food was like half eaten. But there wasn't any rush of there wasn't anything. Nothing. It looked like there had been a panic. Like all the food was still on the table. It was all there. It looked like it'd just been left. I think it left in maybe in a hurry, but not in like a point where like things were thrown around the room.
No.
I will. Right. So here's some of the things are the popular theories of what could have happened. One of them was maybe some kind of mutiny on the ship. Apparently, initial checks of the ship found strange marks that may have been caused by an axe, along with traces of what seemed to have been blood. Obviously, there's no forensics at the time. They would have any kind of red stuff. They would have been like that, possibly blood. Apparently, the Attorney General leading the inquiry fixated on the idea that the members of the crew got violently drunk on the cargo of the alcohol cargo, and then massacred everyone on board before departing on the ship's sole lifeboat. Except it was later revealed that the bloodstains weren't blood. Oh, there you go. That's a shock for me. I didn't read that.
Maybe it was wine.
The marks were due to natural wear and tear, apparently. Apparently, it was natural wear and tear. The alcohol was industrial grade stuff and wasn't fit for drinking. So that's immediately thrown out the window.
Oh.
Yeah, so it can't have been that. Yeah, so it wasn't. So the alcohol that they were transporting wasn't drinkable. So I imagine it was something like absinthe. So like that. You just need one bit and then they would have been gone. But yeah, the another one is like a criminal conspiracy. Apparently a rogues gallery of suspects have been implicated in the case of the Mary Celeste over the years. Could North African pirates have attacked the ship and killed the crew? I mean, I guess maybe the part of where it ended up, the path it would have led, where it would have circumnavigated, is that the right word for a ship? Area across could have been a quite dangerous path. I know that area of, I think there's an area point in Africa, I think Captain Phillips it's based on, where the Somalian pirates, and they have like armed guards on these tankers to wade off any kind of people that are trying to take the ship. So I don't know, maybe it dates back all the way that far back of taking ship.
I found something here that said studies of the ship clearly ruled out the possibility of a pirate attack, since everything on the ship, including the barrels of alcohol it was transporting and the values belonging to the crew, were all left and intact.
Okay.
So, which obviously, I guess, first case, you would expect that to be ruled out, because usually pirates are just there for loot, and that's what they sell that on or drink it kind of thing.
Here's one of the things. This is an interesting one. It's part of the criminal conspiracy. Is that the crew of the I'm gonna fuck this name up, but the De Gratia. I'll take that. The ship that actually discovered the empty Mary Celeste. It perhaps that they in reality had attacked the crew of the Mary Celeste and then pretended to have found her adrift so they could gain money from the salvage. Which, I mean, that is crafty, but that is plausible. Because
to be fair, you did say that they left the ship kind of intact, and like there was a hint of them being in a rush, but they didn't like throw their stuff down, you know.
And it's the people who were all part of the maybe the people who were all part of the investigation were all part of the attacking of the crew. So any kind of obviously if they wanted everything to look neat and tidy and make it look a bit like, oh, what's going on in here? Easy setup. Find this abandoned ship, kill it, or find this ship, kill everyone on it, dump all the bodies, and then tidy it up, mop the decks, and then and maybe one of them forgot a sword and left it on the fucking deck and went. And then when they came back to investigate, they were like, oh shit, kicked it under the rug a bit.
I mean, to be fair, on the Mary Celeste, there was only a crew of 7, a captain, his wife, and his 2-year-old daughter. So that's not a large crew. Whereas the British vessel could have had twice that amount of people. So they might not have even killed them. They might have just said, yo, give us your ship. And obviously they're not going to fight back, are they? So they probably just were like, yeah, take it. And then they killed them or chucked them in the sea or something, I don't know.
Kind of. Yeah.
Or gave them a lifeboat to give them a chance of survival, but something else might have happened later on down the line. Probably didn't quite make it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there was another one here where some people thought it could have been attacked by a giant squid.
A kraken.
Fucking kraken.
Literally, yeah.
An actual kraken. Bloody hell.
Well, that comes back to the idea of unexplored waters, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about these conspiracy theories, but maybe, you know, could one possibility be that the captain has just gone, oh, we're in the Bermuda. As a joke, guys, all right, if you just get up nice and slowly, walk away, get up from your meal, let's just get on the lifeboat, let the ship go on its own, but we won't tell anyone. as a bit of a joke, and his crew
Send it
Start
on
life
its way.
anew.
That sounds
New
lit.
identities sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New identities. One of the theories I have as well is alien abduction comes into it. Obviously, maybe people were sneaky switching that alien suddenly turned up and whisked away the crew. I mean, out of all of them, not gonna lie, that's probably the least plausible. I feel like maybe alien abduction. I don't know. I think
got a good age range though, with the crew, the daughter, the wife.
They could get a lot of dissections. Yeah.
Yeah.
The different stages of aging, maybe. They
I
were
mean,
interested in.
Human biology.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, if everything that's happens in the Bermuda Triangle, it doesn't just happen underwater. It seems to happen above, in the sky as well. So, like, you can imagine that if aliens have something to do with it, there's literally like a sort of world border type-esque triangle that kind of goes up into the sky directly upwards and is just like a beam for any outside spacecraft.
It's like a fishing net. You just put it out, see what you catch.
Yeah.
That's what the Bermuda
Maybe that's
Triangle
all it
for
is.
aliens. Yeah.
I bet there's an explanation for it, you know? There's an explanation.
Yeah.
It's just the aliens fishing.
Literally.
There's actually more that actually answers a bit and maybe puts that. Can't believe this, but Count Duckula lied a little bit here. Apparently, that it was a myth about the Mary Celeste being in eerily pristine condition, with the last log and entry written shortly before it was discovered and half-eaten food still laid on the table. Apparently, it was actually a myth. The last log was made several days before discovery, and there was no food laid out. The ship itself was dishevelled, waterlogged, and in the words of the court's report, a thoroughly wet mess. There's also a small matter of the missing lifeboat, obviously, that the crew had abandoned ship. So apparently, I'm maybe assuming that the people that found it, or it's kind of the new spread of a ship being found, and maybe the rumours were that it was actually just in pristine condition. I don't know how true that is, because from all that I've heard is that it was this ship that was in perfect condition, and then this has gone on to say that it's a myth. I kind of want to say that that's a myth.
Maybe that's right, and you're right, and the British found this vessel. It was waterlogged. It was a bit shitty. It wasn't best in the best condition.
But then where's the crew? Where's the crew then?
Maybe they got rid of the crew, and it's all an act to try and, because they want the new trading routes or trails. So the British trading company would then take over from whatever that trading company was, because everyone would be scared to do that route again or go that way, and they're like,
how much were the British dealing
contracts?
How much were the British dealing with American trading ships at that point? I don't know if they would have been that first. So I feel like in the 1800s they would have been more focused on the India.
British trading companies like with tea, tobacco.
Yeah, that's in India though. I feel like
they import it everywhere, don't they? So they'll get it from there, and then it might be they get it to America, or like slave trade, whatever. I don't know.
I'm starting to think you're an alien, Ben. Are you trying to cover this up? Are you fucking American? Were you there?
No, I'm trying to think of it from a business point of view. I'm like, if I can jeopardize and make up a scary story to put people off going down a certain road, and I know that road is the most direct route between A and B for imports and exports, I'm going to do it and make money.
That is a good point, actually, because they would have been all about that around that time, wouldn't they? All about these like scary stories.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Mary Celeste.
It's hard because it's like you really want to know how or why, but you can't because it's so far back. You haven't got the technology of black boxes or anything like that. You just got to take what someone's written down in a log, as gospel kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got a quick one. It's the Russian sleep experiment.
Yes.
And it's the one that always pops up on Facebook. I always find always pops up on Facebook. It's another Russian one, and this was in, again, it's an old time one. This was in the late 1940s. It was a Soviet test facility, and the Russians were doing an experiment where they were trying to keep some people awake for 30 days. So they were trying to keep these people awake for 30 days, and they did this test on 5 what they called political prisoners. And these 5 prisoners were kept in a sealed gas chamber with an airborne stimulant, they call it, to keep them awake for 30 consecutive days. Prisoners were also falsely promised that they'd be set free if they completed the experiment. So, for the first few days, the subjects behaved as usual, and they were talking to each other and whispering to researchers through this one-way glass thing that they had. But discussions over the next few days gradually became darker. After 9 days, one subject began screaming uncontrollably for hours, while others had no reaction. This guy tore his vocal cords, and he also didn't know why he was screaming, and he eventually was paralysed. And then a second started screaming, but when a second one started screaming, the other prisoners tore a book and stuck it to the one-way glass window so that the researchers couldn't see in. A few days passed and the chamber went... This is really messed up. A few days passed and the chamber goes silent. So the researchers speak to the people inside, and they get to ask if they're okay. And then the people inside give a short response saying yes and sort of expressing their compliance. We get to day 15, halfway through, and the researchers turn the gas off, and they reopen the chamber. And the subjects did not want the gas to turn off for the fear that they would fall asleep. So when these researchers went into this gas chamber, that, remember, they hadn't been able to look in for days, probably about 10 days. 4 of the subjects had performed mutilation of themselves, severe mutilation. One was found dead, and the subjects were begging them to administer the gas. And they even murdered one of the soldiers as well. So they ended up there. I think they were trying to stop all of this. So they ended up removing the subjects. And when they removed them, the subjects showed extreme strength and resistance to drugs. So they were trying to make them better again, but the drugs just were not affecting them at all. And these people had not been to sleep for this is about 20 days in. So they could remain alive despite lethal injuries, but they found that if they fell asleep, they died. Here's a big bit of text to finish off with. So they put them back into the chamber, the ones that were still alive. Before the chamber was sealed, one of the subjects fell asleep and died. The only subject that could speak screamed to be immediately sealed in the chamber. The military commander ordered for 3 other researchers to be closed inside the chamber, which is terrifying, alongside the 2 remaining subjects. One researcher immediately drew his gun and killed the commander and the mute subject by shooting them both in the head, causing the other person to flee the room. With only one surviving subject, the terrified researcher explained that he would not allow himself to be locked in the room with monsters that could no longer be called people. He desperately asked what the subject was, to which the subject smiled and identified himself and the other fallen subjects as an inherent evil inside the human mind that is kept in check by the act of sleeping. After a brief pause, the researcher shot the prisoner in the heart, and with his dying breath on the floor, the subject muttered his final words, "So nearly free."
I might turn my fucking light on. That was pretty fucking creepy. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Jesus. So is this the sleep experiment? Is there actual truth in this? Is this actual?
This is a legitimate experiment that happened. Yeah.
Really? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If we find anything else on it, then that says it's not, I might fact check it just to make sure, but it is as far as I believe, it is a legitimate experiment to just see to try and keep people awake for 30 days.
Why did they want to?
I think you can stay awake for 30. I think you can stay awake for a maximum of, I think, 5 days.
The max that anyone's ever... I was talking about this with the guys the other day, but the max anyone's ever stayed awake for is 11 days. That's the record.
Oh, is it?
It was the guy who managed to... after, I think it was 11 days that he suffered from short-term memory loss, paranoia, hallucinations, and I think he also holds the record for the longest sleep ever.
Wow.
I think he slept for 14 hours. No, it was like 18 hours or something. It was so...
Well, he deserved it.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Man. Well, yeah, so there's no description as to why they were administering this, but it's Russia, isn't it? Like, they kind of just do stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't quite get. I mean, maybe they were doing it to kind of like one up the rest of the world. Kind of like, look at our soldiers can stay awake for 30 days on this gas that we give them.
Kind of creating like they could fight for longer and if you don't need to sleep, you can get more done supposedly. And also if they're like immune to like drugs and that, I don't know, because I know at the time there was a lot of chemical warfare on the battlefield, like mustard gas and shit like that. Maybe it was some kind of thing of maybe we could figure a way of curing it, or not curing it, but at least maybe creating people that are somewhat resilient.
Yeah, or making like a super army, because it does actually say at the end here that they became like, what was it? They became the subjects showed extreme strength and resistance to drugs. But I mean, you don't want to be in the battlefield with them, do you? Flipping it.
Sometimes it's like though when like psychopaths or whatever have a psychotic fit, obviously they're not themselves, but they are stronger, or they appear stronger. Well, no, they are physically stronger than they normally would, but it's the what you call it, the adrenaline that gives you that strength. So because they've not had the sleep, their body's producing more adrenaline to try and keep awake. Gives them that like super strength power kind of thing.
Yeah, that is a part. Because I mean, humans are capable of doing it. I think it's what did I read? Is like the human body is capable in the right thing to lift a car easily. Is like you could and there are people that I think I saw a video a while back. But there's this guy. He literally just walks up to a car, pulls it, lifts it up. He's not mad. He's not built. He looks like a regular guy that's a bit tubby, and he kind of like lifts the car up and then just drags it because it's in his way, or on the pathway, and just lifts it over there. So it's definitely possible. I think like maybe someone, if they say a mother who's like their child is in danger, would have the strength if in need to do like the impossible to save the kid, like in certain circumstances, don't they? Obviously, the adrenaline is a free enhancer that the human body just creates.
It's like a mind over matter thing, isn't it? Because there's I totally get what you mean there. And actually, what goes alongside that is that, and I didn't want to get too graphic with this, so I won't go into the details, but it does say obviously that they have like self-mutilated themselves, and like I mean that must be the pinnacle of pain to actually do that to yourself. And so like they've gone through that, and so drugs going into them, their mind over matter in that instance is going to be like, this is nothing in comparison to pulling my finger off,
I mean, I was watching a video, I think it was this morning actually, to be honest, but it was on YouTube, but there's this, they were talking about how you can easily bite into a carrot, and you can easily bite in and bite your finger off.
Your finger's
your subconscious knows it's your finger, so it doesn't allow you to do that. You just don't do it, but you do have the power, like the, I don't know what the right word is, but you've got the jaw strength to be able to bite off a finger easy. So it's like if I was to like blindfold one of you up, or you blindfolded me up, and then you gave me a series of carrots to bite into consecutively, but then kept one of those with a finger, because I can't see it's my finger and I've already bitten into 3 carrots, I would probably bite off a finger, or you would bite off a finger too, because you're expecting it to be a carrot. You don't know it's going to be a finger. Obviously, now I've said that, you will always think, oh, maybe he's going to put a finger in my mouth.
So I'm never going to let you blindfold me. Yeah, never going to happen now, mate.
But, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it's like,
a lot
of the time it's your subconscious that is telling you can't do it, when actually in reality you physically can, but your brain's not letting you.
And to be fair, if it was your own finger as well, you would feel every like, because if you get shot by something, you don't feel it until you see it. But if it was your own doing it to your own self, you would feel every bit of pain about it. Man,
that's why a lot of people are more hesitant to jump off things or do adrenaline sports, because you're not meant to do, your body's not meant to do that sort of stuff, but it can.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. But you just got you're scared of doing it because you don't know what's going to happen if it goes wrong, kind of thing. Again, it's all subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, the power of the human mind. I mean, the things we don't know about our bodies are incredible, aren't they?
All the mysteries. I think it's time for Dyatlov Pass. Here we go. So this is probably one of my favourite kind of like what the fuck has gone on kind of stories out there. I think it is really interesting because it's 100% real. Like everything that they describe is real. And they're not 100%. I've got an explanation from, I think, recently that, I mean, it's the Russians who did the experiment, so I don't know how to trust it. So we're going to go with what they said. We'll get to that. So it's January of 1959. There is these group of people, 8 young hikers led by Igor Dyatlov. I wonder why it's called the Dyatlov Pass. We will find out. So there's 7 men and 2 women. Most of them are university students. They wanted to attempt to reach Mount. Oh, I could butcher the name, but Torton. There you go. From the small settlement of Vizahai. Jesus, this is awful. But it took about 3 months to locate their 9 bodies. So they were found about 6 miles away from their destination. So they didn't even manage to make it there. They were in a forest almost a mile away from their campsite without their skis, shoes, coats in approximately minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit weather. 2 of them had fractured skulls. 2 more had major chest fractures. 1 hiker, her tongue was missing. Soviet investigators listed the cause of death as a compelling natural force and abruptly closed the case not even a month later. So barely anything, and just compiled it to a natural force, a compelling natural force, and they left it. The 6 of the skiers died of hypothermia. 3 died of injury. So this is apparently this is what they know about the incident. They died separately. 2 of them were found under a tree near the remains of a fire, while 3 others were found in intervals of 100 feet from the tree. And 4 more were in a ravine about 250 feet away. The 2 under the tree had burned hands. The 4 in the ravine weren't found until May the 4th, 3 months after the incident. The dead seem to have donated some of their clothing to the living. I believe this is a woman. Ludmila Dubinina's foot was wrapped in a piece of one of the other trekkers' coat, it seems. Or pants, sorry. While another was found wearing one of the other trekkers' hat and coat, and some garments had cuts in them, as though they were forcibly removed. Consistently, there were 8 or 9 sets of footprints in the snow, accounting only for the skiers and not suggesting another party's involvement. There was no sign of a struggle or any other human or animal approaching the campsite. There was a snowstorm the night of February 2nd, which is when it was determined via their diaries that they died. So they died during a snowstorm. It goes on to say their campsite. Oh God, sorry, I've got a cramp in my hand. Their campsite was made on the slopes of, it's translated to English, thank God, to Dead Mountain, about 3,600 feet. All the travellers, 8 of them in the about mid-20s, were experienced mountaineers, having skied across frozen lakes and totally uninhabited areas before. Despite the weather and slow progress, their last diary entries reflected high spirits, so there was no indication of that they were things were going wrong, seemingly just based on their diaries itself. Apparently, that's very common in a Soviet way of bonding. Is what they put it down to. Let's see what else they say. After the first 5 bodies were found, a legal inquest began, eventually determining that the cause of death was hypothermia. So this is the autopsy. This is what they said happened. It seemed quite straightforward at first. Sure, these dead were in various stages of undress, including one of them in their underwear, but this was explained as a way of paradoxical undressing, which happens in about 25% of hypothermia victims, as the body temperature seems to rise when it's actually dropping. So, like, I can account for it. I've almost got to the point of hypothermia. It was years ago when it was I think one of the coldest winters in the UK ever. I think it got up to about -12. Amazingly, a great idea. Go for a long walk in the marsh in that kind of weather. Real good stuff. Yeah, I remember sitting down on the ground, feeling tired, and it actually being quite warm, but actually feeling quite cold. It's one of those things, like, you know, when people die of shock and stuff when they're really hot, and they hit like cold waters and stuff. But yeah,
isn't that amazing that your body can thinking it's really cold, suddenly your body can actually heat you up fully.
Yeah, that's why they say don't drink really cold drinks in hot weather, because your body, you drink the cold drink and then obviously your body's going to be like, oh, it's cold, and then it'll try and raise the temperature in your body, and that's why it doesn't. Apparently you get hotter. But then what kind of maniac drinks tea in hot weather? It's crazy. And then the skiers' badly damaged tent, it was determined, had been cut open from the inside, and all of the stuff was still inside. Freezing winds that night due to the blizzard. They were confused of why they would have left in such a hurry of their own volition. They fled the camp with a camera, but none of the gear. They seemed to die. He died in a pose of indicating he was trying to return to the tent. Rustem Slobodin, I'm going to butcher their names, along with Dyatlov and Zena, long name ski. So they were indicating on going back to the tent.
Yeah.
And they had small crack in his skull. So I think this is Rustem, who had the small crack in his skull. But it was ruled that the elements were what killed him, not the fracture. No external wounds were discovered. So they ruled out that the fracture on his skull. Things got real shaken up when the 4 bodies in the ravine were found and examined. Both Dubinina and Zolotarev had fractured ribs, while Nikolai had a major skull fracture. One of the investigators compared the force required to injure a human so severely to that of a car crash. The injuries were absolutely not caused by force exerted by another human being. Once again, no soft tissue damage was observed, as though the skiers' bodies were crushed by pressure. They're already there's these people that were in the ravine. It's like, it could be that maybe possibly that they maybe they fell into the ravine, and it was the pressure of maybe something, or maybe I don't know, maybe there was a rock that landed on them.
I mean, it's worth getting the scientific explanation out of the way first of this conspiracy theory. The scientific explanation of this is that they could have been driven from their tents from what they call a slab avalanche, which occurs when a slab of snow near the surface breaks away from the deeper layer of snow and it slides downhill. So the scientific explanation is that this slab avalanche was coming down, and they would have been able to hear this as well coming down, so they would have been like getting out of their tent, which sounds like a crazy thing to do if you're a professional explorer, but getting out of their tent. And then there's the possibility that slab avalanche is obviously going to take them with it, crash them into rocks, crash them into trees, and break and injure themselves. And then the next part of it is the thing about the missing tongue, and there's missing eyes as well. The explanation behind that is that animals could have like come and eaten them, which is fair enough. So that's the scientific explanation, but it feels like there's more to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth noting as well that all of these people were from the Ural State Technical University, which is Russia's largest technical institution of higher education. So that includes like anything from chemical engineering to physics engineering, radio engineering. It's basically the history of the university is back in like World War II as well. They were working to come up with ways to win the war and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit like it's like Cambridge or Oxford, but for science.
So they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, so they're all smart people. So I feel like that's something that's probably got something to do with it as well. If it's not science, is it they were testing something new that went wrong?
Yeah, it does say that the orange spheres were sighted in the sky on the night that Dyatlov's group died by campers about 50 miles away from the scene. Some explained that they were in continental missile launches, seeing as apparently the last campsite was located on the pathway from a Soviet nuclear testing ground, which explains because what they found was on the clothing of the on some of the clothing of these hikers, there was high amounts of radiation that couldn't be explained, which is very bizarre.
That there was also apparently there was also no information in released documents regarding the state or the condition of their internal organs. So you had your normal like autopsy, but there was nothing in the autopsy that related to their internal organs. So had they all been exposed to something which affected their internal organs, but they didn't want to disclose that because it was an experiment gone wrong, and that means they would have to report said experiment, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I do have actually a little bit of information that I found was that goes along with what you're saying about the missile thing. Was this was on a YouTube video, and annoyingly I can't remember the title of it. It was called Hunting. No, it wasn't called. Hunting the Killer Russian Yeti: The Mysterious Dyatlov Pass. YouTube video, and there is apparently when they were like looking into this, there was an anonymous man who popped up, and he claimed that his grandfather at the time was conducting secret Soviet missile tests in 1999, and he claims his claim was that a missile was being sent to where they were. Not to hit them, but because there were no people in the area. So they were testing this missile, and they needed to test it in an area where there were no people. And obviously, with this mountain being called Death Mountain or Dead Mountain, it's like, well, there's not going to be any people there. Unfortunately, there were. So there was this missile was sent there, and obviously went off, which could explain these like lights in the sky, because there was also in the tent that was left, where the people who went to find them found this tent that was left. In the tent were pictures of these like glowing orbs in the sky, and which could explain those. But again, I mean, I was going to say that doesn't explain the injuries, but again, like animals could have got to them. Although this does also go into the theory of Yetis, which I don't know have you guys looked into Yetis?
No, I've not. I
haven't.
Into Yeti.
But I have. There was someone said something about indigenous Manai people.
Yeah.
Sort of
so.
thing.
I found there are 3 historical incidents of Yetis attacking around these mountains. In 1925, a Russian military report being attacked by a Yeti in eastern Siberia, which is a mountain nearby that. In 1945, a unit of Soviet soldiers claimed to have had a violent encounter with a Yeti in a cave. And in 1953, a group of hunters escaped after being charged by an angry Yeti. All of these, the Yeti felt threatened, obviously, which kind of implies that these Yetis, if they're real, only actually attack when they're provoked. And this missile launch could be is provoking, and spooked him. Yeah, and these all of these Yeti attacks are very close together as well.
Yeah.
The Yeti probably thought that they had something to do with the missile.
The Yeti felt guilty and was like yelling. It was coming. It wasn't chasing after them. It was trying to explain as like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." It's the fucking
like a monocle.
It's the Yeti. It's the Yeti from Monsters Inc. Welcome to the Himalayas. And he's got like a tray of snow cones. Don't eat the yellow snow. It's lemon.
Oh, imagine. Literally. I hope it's that now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I found another 2 case studies that I thought were could have come across similar to this Dyatlov Pass. So one was the Shivray Pass incident, which is the death of 10 ski hikers in the Soviet Union between the 27th and 28th of January, but in 1973. The trekking group were all from the, Kubyshev Aviation Institute, and they had been hiking the slopes of the Shivray Pass area, which I guess is still mountainous, snowy, what have you. And basically, the group's bodies were discovered, and an investigation by the Soviet Union authorities determined that all 10 had died from hypothermia, which again is another, correlating
cause of death.
Cause of death for that. Yeah. And the same thing happened again, which was another incident called the Hammer Daban Pass incident, where 6 members of a 7-person hiking group died in mysterious circumstances on the 5th of August 1993. And there was one person that was a survivor, and the autopsies found signs of hypothermia and protein deficiency in the deceased members of the hiking group. So again, hypothermia, but also protein deficiency. So if they are testing missiles, they could be chemical missiles, it could be whatever. So all these things might have effects on the people.
They didn't have that
might be in the wrong place at the wrong time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably nothing, to be honest. I probably just saw that and was like, oh, hello.
Well,
but
that's
also,
really
I think
interesting.
it's
No,
worth...
you're right, because I think sometimes some of these things link, you know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Literally.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Also, out of the original party for the Dyatlov Pass, one of the members went home, didn't they?
Yes, they didn't actually go out with them. I think they said they were ill or something.
Yeah, they were ill. So that again could be, is that something to do with, because is that something to do with testing or in on something? He got them, he was part of it, he was like, yeah, it's good. And then he was like, oh, I know what's going to happen.
It was the Yeti.
He
was disguised as one of the crew.
Literally. And then basically there was also there was a DNA analysis done, and I don't know who it, I've got the name, but I couldn't tell you who in the party it was, or what their role was, but it turned out Zolotcharov, a guy with the name that begins with Z, out of the party that originally went for the Dyatlov Pass. His name was not on the list of those buried at the cemetery, which they made him a memorial in the cemetery somewhere in Russia. But also the exhumed skull matched post-war photographs of Zolotov, although a lot of people thought that it was somebody else hiding under Zolotov's name after World War II. So whether that's got, I didn't know if that was the guy that didn't go in the end, or what. Oh no, because his skull. But basically, again, because it's an institute, and they're like it's a technical institute. They're all scientists. They're all bright, but have they all been part of shady shit in the past, and so they've got to come up with,
Yeah.
especially after World War II, have they got new identities, or are they given a new identity from someone, so they're covering up as a different scientist when in fact they are one of these other like crazy scientists that were trying to create chemical weapons or something.
Or maybe it's because of what they knew. They was like they knew they waited. Maybe the Soviets waited until they got out there and then sent the missiles, knowing that it would cause their deaths.
Yeah.
And then,
and did that other guy that didn't go on the trip get this Zolotov guy involved in the expedition, knowing full well that it wasn't Zolotov, and he was working for the Soviet Union, and they needed to kill him because he knew too much from way whenever. I don't know.
Ooh.
Who knows?
Who knows? Fucking creepy shit. Anyway, the
Inside
Dyatlov
job.
is a great. It's such a good story. Real life, actual event that happened, and no one's 100% sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. It's a definite cover up of what they were doing up there. That's what I believe. I believe that they'd done maybe some kind of testing, and maybe didn't realize that they were on the mountain, and something like that, and it went wrong, and then they ended up killing all of these people, when they shouldn't. And I imagine maybe they shouldn't have been testing in that area or something. Like the missile maybe went off course, and they had to just cover up and went, it's just hypothermia. Or just a natural avalanche, or whatever, something like that. Yeah, but I definitely believe that a lot of people, again, people higher up, easily able to cover up stuff based on how much power they have, and because no one can question it.
All they need to do is conveniently drop a piece of paper into a shredder, and there's no evidence of.
There you go.
Said.
Yeah.
Experiment. I mean, it said apparently. I found something that said on July the 11th, 2020. They looked into it again, and the District Directorate of the Prosecutor's General Office announced an avalanche to be the official cause of death for the Dyatlov group in 1959, and later an independent computer simulation and analysis by a Swiss group of researchers also suggest an avalanche as the cause of their death. Just to throw that out there as well.
Nah, they're in the Russians' pocket. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Cover up. Yeah, you just fuck it's Sweden. They're not on anyone's side.
That's the thing with conspiracy theories. It's like you can never really know. Everyone can have a theory, but nothing's ever set in stone.
I was going to ask. I've got a quick question for you because I was thinking about it just then.
Okay.
How do you guys decide to believe in a conspiracy theory? Because there are theories that we think, that could be a possibility, and then there's other conspiracy theories that you think, I feel like you feel like you know too much of one side to kind of fully get on board with it, which is kind of a bit like the flat Earth theory. I know
that's real though.
Theory, but
that's fact.
It is flat, Josh.
Yeah, come on.
Right. Okay. So how do you guys decide to how do you decide to believe a conspiracy theory?
I just look for what could be what could come across as more realistic facts.
Yeah.
If there's like scientific evidence, then I'm more likely going to believe that. If I can see something that proves a point, then I'm on the path of believing, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if there's a more logical thing of it, if there's an actual more or less, if there's easily, when you've got a lot of shady governments that are out there, a lot of the time when it's, especially when you get stuff where the officials of maybe a certain group of people do go in and do the thing. I'm not just net drop Jeffrey Epstein, but if looking at any of that stuff, I recommend looking it up, because everything that points to what did happen to him, I would say isn't true, and it clearly shows that although they can cover up, or they're say this is not hey, I'm not saying this is facts. I'm just my opinion of what might happen, but hey, I'm not saying it's facts. So don't come. If I end up with a rope around my neck, I'm just stating now. It's just hey, we know who it was. So if I end up with a rope around that, I didn't kill myself. This is my. You guys are my witness. But there's a lot of the facts that come into play with what happened to him that do not make any sense at all, and nobody can do anything about it. You can't do anything about it because the people that were probably involved with it are so high up. There's no one anyone could do, and that's pretty fucking terrifying. The fact that there's these people in the world that they could, with a flick of their fingers, could do something, and then you could easily be just erased off the map if you have certain stuff that could be detrimental to people in. I imagine, well, obviously the people that covered it up are in line with. But that's just,
I mean, to be fair, we were saying just before the podcast that like it's quite hard to search for conspiracy theories because there's an inside conspiracy theory that search engines, obviously with the internet being like run by higher powers, the inside conspiracy theory in the conspiracy theory is that Google automatically puts anything that certain people don't want people like us to see, like in the thousands, on page 1000.
Yeah.
Because everything that comes up first is like factual versions of, well, that's how we know so easily that like the Dyatlov Pass could have been an avalanche, because that comes up first.
Yeah, so it leads you to believe something that isn't necessarily true. It's like they filter out what information they want you to see.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone bases their conspiracy on when you don't actually have the full picture, or the information is kind of there in front of you, but you've just really got to put the time in to look, and no one's going to go on page 1000 in a Google search.
It's very easy. It's very easy to be misled, I think, and even to a degree brainwashed into believing certain things just because of how much they could easily, like Josh saying, like manipulate that what search stuff comes up first. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the two O's in Google are actual eyes that look at you while you search. So if you're on Google, they're fucking like they've just got their eye cameras through the circle. Yeah.
Josh, did you say you had like a little? You had a little.
Okay, right.
Josh has got a little surprise for us today, everyone.
I've got a little surprise for us. So it's literally going to be about 5 seconds, and then we're just going to end the podcast. I'm a woman. No, it's not that. Boom, conspiracy. Surprise. No. Conspiracy. Am I a woman? Who knows? Okay. So this is the world's shortest horror story. Okay. So you ready for this? We're going to end on this. We're going to end on a scary note. Okay. I imagine probably some of you know that. Okay. So you go. The last human on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock at the door. There you go.
Oh my goodness.
So many questions.
Yeah, isn't that fucking scary?
Who wrote that?
Well, I'm looking at a tweet made by Guillermo del Toro. I can't fucking say his name, the director.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just going to assume it's him.
That is so cool. Wow.
I really like that short story. The horror story. It really gets under your skin a little bit. Like I shiver a little bit. Like, ooh, that's an unpleasant thought. But yeah.
That's also a great start to if you're trying to write a story. What a great way to start your story. Well, that brings us up to the end of this conspiracy theory episode. I don't know about you guys, but I have very much enjoyed talking about these ideas, about all these theories and conspiracies. And if any of us go missing over the next week or so, then Ben. You know why.
It was Ben. He's behind it all.
And we definitely won't be sleeping tonight. Either. If we do, it'll be with the lights on
because of the gas. Sleep experiment.
Oh
no. But no, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Life Lab podcast. We will see you next month. Josh, how do we end it?
Like this.